There you go. Okay. Good evening and welcome to the October 27th, 2014 Hillsborough Board of Education meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order. In accordance with the State Sunshine Law of New Jersey, adequate notice of this meeting of the Hillsborough Township Board of Education was provided on October 23rd, 2014 to the Hillsborough Beacon and Courier News. May I have a roll call, please, Mr. Mahmood?
Surely. Ms. Bogoshevsky? Ms. Santafonte?
Here.
Mr. Dutta?
Here.
Mr. Gillette? Mrs. Haas?
Here.
Mrs. Haley? Mr. Pulsifer?
Here.
Ms. Wasson?
Here.
And Mr. Kint?
Here.
We have a quorum.
We have a quorum. I'm going to read a motion to go into executive session. Whereas the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231 of the laws of 1975 provides that a public body may exclude the public from that portion of a meeting of which the public body discusses certain matters for which confidentiality is required as permitted in Section 7B of the Act. Resolved by the Board of Education of the Township of Hillsborough and the County of Somerset and State of New Jersey as follows. A, the matters to be discussed are goals of the Superintendent of Schools, Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, and School Business Administrator, and a personnel matter. B, the matters discussed in executive session shall be disclosed to the public when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. I'd like to entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Here, Chris.
Got it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And abstentions? You can know.
Sure.
Okay, we're now in executive session. Thank you. We'll be back at 7:30 for the regular meeting.
Gotcha.
Okay, good evening and welcome to the October 27th, 2014 Hillsborough Township Board of Education meeting. May I have a roll call, please, Mr. Mahmood?
Surely. Ms. Bogoshevsky?
Here.
Ms. Santafonte?
Here.
Mr. Dutta?
Here.
Mr. Gillette?
Here.
Mrs. Haas?
Here.
Mrs. Haley?
Here.
Mr. Pulsifer?
Here.
Ms. Wasson?
Here.
Mr. Kint?
Here.
We have a quorum.
We'll have quorum. Okay. Let us rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We've had correspondence as is listed in the agenda, and I'll hand it off to Dr. Schiff for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Kintz. It's my pleasure to make a recommendation for our new Director of Human Resources. A few months ago, we began a very large and an exhaustive search for a new director, and I am pleased to recommend to the board without hesitation or reservation Mr. Mike Volpe for the position. Mike has been a principal in our district for 9 years or so. Prior to that, he was an elementary school principal in Florham Park. He has also served as a vice principal in higher ed. He holds a bachelor's degree from University of Delaware, as well as a master's degree in educational leadership from Kane University. Thank you very much. So with that, I'd like to ask the board for unanimous consent to move the motion to appoint Mr. Volpe as Director of Personnel for the Hillsborough Township Public School.
Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve item B7.1 of the action agenda.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, roll call, please, Mr. Mahmood.
Surely. Ms. Bogoshevsky?
Yes.
Ms. Santafonte?
Yes.
Mr. Dutta?
No.
Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Mrs. Haas?
No.
Mrs. Haley?
Yes.
Mr. Pulsifer?
Yes.
Ms. Wasson?
Yes.
And Mr. Kint?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion passes.
Welcome
Congratulations, Mr. Volpe. I'd like to ask the board to take a brief recess where you can meet Mr. Volpe, his children, and his friends.
We'll take a 5-minute recess. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Continuing on with the superintendent's report, Dr. Schiff.
Thank you. Again, congratulations, Mr. Volpe. We look forward to working with you. Tonight, I'm proud to share some good news from around the district with our board and the Hillsborough community. An article on Dr. Jerry Silver and the Hillsborough High School STEM Club were included in the October 24 issue of IEEE Electron Device Society newsletter. The STEM Club was established to help students better understand possible career choices in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. The IEEE newsletter is distributed to over 400,000 IEEE members worldwide. Congratulations to Dr. Silver and the Hillsborough High School STEM Club members. This past Friday, our Hillsborough High School varsity Raider football team clinched the Mid-State 38 Conference Delaware Division Championship with a 20-yard field goal by Zach Eilbacher with 5 seconds left in the game. The team beat Elizabeth in a score of 31-28. The team is now 7-0 for the season, undefeated. Way to go, Raiders. This week, all 9 of our schools in the Hillsborough community at large will celebrate Red Ribbon Week. The mission of Red Ribbon Campaign is to present a unified and visible community commitment towards the creation of a drug-free America. This year's theme is, quote, "Love yourself, be drug-free," unquote. Our students will show their support by participating in school spirit days, decorating their schools with red ribbons, and also helping the community in general by participating in activities such as canned food drives. Please remember to talk to your children about this very important topic. And at this point, I'd like to work with my colleagues on the Education Committee to review some of the discussion items that we've had on the 2015-2016 school calendar. And I'd like to just pull that up for everybody to see in just a moment. There we go. Yeah, I'm going to put it up on the screen in just a second. Okay. So what we can do is just take a look at some of the issues that we're dealing with as we put our calendar together. And I want to try to narrow it down to 3 major issues. It's when do we start the school year, when do we end the school year, and what type of spring break are we looking at. This particular calendar has the start of the school day for students on Thursday, September 3rd. Has a full week for the spring break, and it ends on June 21st, which leaves us with 1 snow day within the calendar. I'm sorry, whoop, that was the wrong one. Hold on. Let me scroll that up. The math didn't work. Leaves us with 4 snow days in the calendar. I apologize. So if we want to end earlier, if we want to end in this week on the 16th, we would take away 3 snow days. That's one option. Another option is not having a full week off on the spring break. You can pick up days that way, and that can help move the calendar back. Moving the calendar forward, we could start school instead of on the 3rd, on the 8th. Now, there's lots of different iterations, and I know that the Education Committee has continued to discuss and debate these topics. But we wanted to get some input from the full board with the hopes of getting clear direction, and then we can put something on the board agenda for final approval at the next board meeting. So maybe I can open it up to my colleagues from the Education Committee first, Judy or Lorraine, Craig.
You want me to?
Yeah, Lorraine, go.
Okay. So while there are 2 versions that were attached, neither of these versions, we discussed them both at length and we discarded both of them. So I think it's wise how Jordan outlined the issues that we're discussing. It's basically a start before Labor Day, a start after Labor Day. The only way we really, and I should say 3 of the 4 members of the committee, well, two of the 3 voting members and 1 observer, our stance right now is to start before Labor Day with a view of trying to graduate on June 16th. And neither of those calendars, currently the way they're set up, have that as an option, as the option. The what we do in between is really the question. Do we, as Jordan say, keep the whole of spring break and all of the other days as they are there, Election Day as an in-service day, and the other in-service day is on take your child to work, bring your child to work day, and then a Friday before Memorial Day, and keep all of spring break and only have one snow day? Or do we try to take some of those others away, manipulate things to gain back more snow days? So I think that's, all of that is up for debate before or after Labor Day, the 16th or the 21st of June as our graduation day, and then what to do in between. But just to give you the sort of, Greg was the one person who didn't want to start before Labor Day.
Right, so, okay. So yeah, so I didn't like the idea of starting before Labor Day, although I did offer to vote to start before Labor Day if we were reinstated the entire November first week as no school, as we had done for several years in the recent past, as a trade-off. But I think Lorraine outlined it correctly, but I think and we did finally come to some resolution, and I think what we were leaning towards was, as Lorraine indicated, finding one more day within the calendar, so we would be left with 2 snow days instead of the 4 that are built into the calendar that ends now, that starts before Labor Day, ends on the 22nd, with 4 snow days. If we could have 2 snow days and end it on the 16th, everyone would be okay with that. One way to do that would be to go to school on November 3rd, Election Day, and have that in-service day after the end of the student school year, as we have done sometimes in the past out of necessity, but it has been done. And wasn't that what we were leaning towards?
Yeah, I believe so. That was,
And we have two snow days,
that
but
or back to
in this current school year, we have 2 snow days built in, plus if you remember how we laid out the calendar for the school year that we're in now, sort of like we've listed days we will take that are currently off, that we will go to school if there's early snow emergency days. For instance, Martin Luther King birthday, President's Day, would be 2 that we set it up, and we would probably have to, if we were left with 2 snow days in the calendar we adopt for 15-16, we would have the same scheme, if you will, to have 2 plus the emergency days for an early snow. And that's how we left off. I don't know if Mrs. Haas agrees.
Yeah. Everything in life is a trade-off, and we had quite serious discussion about starting school before Labor Day. Unfortunately, this year, Labor Day comes out as late as possible. It's on September 7th in 2015-16, which, to clarify, we're talking about not this year, the year after. Our Christmas vacation, or winter break, starts on a Thursday and goes through the following week, so that's exceptionally long this year, just because of the way the calendar falls. And I guess we saw an iteration of the calendar with 3 days off in March. And quite honestly, after last year and the decimation of the March break, I really think our teachers and students could use the break in March. It's unfortunate that so many, thank you. It's unfortunate that so many holidays are loaded up into the front of the year when people are fresh and interested in being in school. And then we go through the winter and people are desperate for a break and there are no days left. So we have Memorial Day, you know, I think people agree that they want to end school early. I think we've done really well with having school end before the 20th over the last couple of years, and I think that's been of value. I don't think too many people want to go to the 22nd, 23rd of the month. So the trade-off, as Greg said, would be, well, it's not a complete trade-off because we still have to make up an in-service day, but if we could pick up an extra snow day, and if the town just could be cognizant that if it's a really bad winter and we haven't budgeted enough snow days, we will have to impact some of those other holidays, and as a last resort, some days from the March vacation. So I'd just like to get a sense of the body, whether or not we are in agreement of going to school before Labor Day. Of course, the first 2 days would be in-service days, because we need to have those before school starts. So the first week of September would have 2 student days, and then a 3-day weekend. But then we would be able to end on the, 16th of June. And that would be, I think, very advisable and wise to do. And we will create that rolling list of holidays that may be compromised if there are many snow days before the days come. So that's my 2 cents.
Mr. Pulsifer.
You know, and we have this discussion every year, but you know, there are so many of these holidays that fall on the first Monday after this and that, and are not just, you know, the first. And it's very hard to make these calendars work, and there is certainly years like this where the calendar gets incredibly hard. To me, you know, there's the end of the summer is the end of August more than Labor Day. And when Labor Day is that deep into September, I'm much more concerned with when we finish the year. You know, that last couple weeks of school in some of our buildings is oppressively hot. It's very uncomfortable, and if we can get back some days at that point in June, and the cost is that we may have to take a few days before Labor Day, I would rather do that and get out as early as we can in June.
And have a full week in March.
Oh, well, yeah. I think we owe people a full week in March.
Yeah, really.
Mrs. Haley.
I don't know why this thought just popped into my head, but usually graduation is a big factor in how we decide the calendar. Did we book the arena for graduation for not this year, but next year as well? Or like, are we going to continue to do off-site, or where are we with those things?
I asked Ms. Binger to put holds on for the Sun Arena for both the 16th as well as the 21st.
For 2016.
I mean, my preference, I'm comfortable with starting school before Labor Day if it means we can end school in the 3rd week of June as opposed to the 4th week of June. Okay. Does the Education Committee feel like they've got enough guidance?
Some chatter going on.
No, we were asking, I said, we're not getting November back, right? Because some people are still asking for November
No.
back.
Unless you want to graduate on June 30th.
Yeah, certainly not this year. I mean, you know, this is, as Judy said, September 7th is the latest Labor Day can be. It doesn't happen again until 2020, so we have a few years reprieve. Next year's calendar, because I believe Christmas and New Year's fall on a weekend,
Right.
is going to be easy as pie. I told Jordan we should start that immediately.
We say that every year.
No, but that one I believe will. I counted and gave us what we took off here, and starting the Monday after Labor Day and ending, the 3rd Thursday in June, I had 186 days. I mean, it should be easy. But now I'm knocking on some wood or something. But anyway, I think this is just an especially difficult year that we won't see for hopefully some time, but.
So with
No,
regard
November.
to November, the way that I'm looking at it is if we wanted to give
same as
back
this year.
the 2nd and the 4th, you'd have to add on towards the end of the year. So that the ending date would be the 21st, 22nd, or 23rd of June.
We'll be back to that.
Well, aren't we finishing the 16th? Right?
So this calendar, the one that we sort of came to somewhat of a consensus on, even though I didn't agree, so it's hard for me to say this, but is to end on the 16th, as I'm hearing from, to end on the 16th, graduate on the 16th of June. So my thought was, I just take the opposite thought. To me, the 16th of June, is no better than the 21st of June. From parents that have talked to me, including this one down the end of the table here, told me many times that end too early in June, that's tough for my kids. What do I do with them?
For some working
Some camps don't start. I know, that early. What are we going to do? So, to me, and also I just thought it was a big change. I think that people are going to come up to me after this and they're going to say, "I can't believe you're starting school before Labor Day," and we don't do that in Hillsborough. We don't do that in New Jersey generally.
Didn't we do that 2 years ago?
No.
Huh?
We did that 2 years ago.
Yeah, we've done it before.
We did.
And I
Do
have
what?
a whole bunch of
We
calendars.
we started before Labor Day.
Some years.
I was just going to ask, do we have surrounding?
When?
I believe it
It's
was.
been a while, but we have done it.
For teachers in service, not with students.
No, with students.
With students.
have done it.
With
It
students.
was 2 years.
Probably the year we ended early.
It was 2 years ago.
complaining.
It was a
I thought
similar.
you know that
it was-
that day too.
It was a similar situation where you had Labor Day was either on the 7th or the 8th,
Yeah, we've had it
may have been the 6th, and we
Probably about 4
had,
years ago.
I think we had 2 days before Labor Day, taking into account also the teacher and service days. Mrs. Bogacheski.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, do we have any idea what the teachers want?
Well, we have to, they have to have some input. Dr. Schiff can maybe speak to that, right?
Sure, absolutely. I did have conversations with representatives from the HEA who indicated the concern that Judy articulated before about having a full break during April, and I'm sorry, during March, and keeping a full week of vacation rather than taking days away from that vacation in order to graduate on the 16th.
And just
And
remind
I don't want to, there may be more issues, and certainly we're not voting on it today. So I would hope that if there's additional information, that members of the HA would come to the mic and share their views directly with the board.
And just because I'm losing track here now, if we started before Labor Day, we ended on the 16th, how many snow days are we at?
181,
We're doing 2 or
plus
4?
we have to find,
We would have one,
You have one.
unless
That's
we,
what I'm
unless,
double
and then we
checking, where
could,
we
and
were with
then,
snow days.
we'd have
then we
one.
could talk about whether you want to make Election Day a school day, then that would make
Where
it
you
2, and place that in-service day to another part of the calendar, but it would have to be after the last day of school.
Looking at,
That's
and
4.
I don't know if this consideration was brought to the HEA, looking at the calendar with the 2 in-service days being Tuesday and Wednesday, has anybody approached the HEA if they would consider having in-service days on the 31st and the 1st to allow for 3 days of school before? So it's first starting out with two days, but starting on a Monday instead of a Tuesday. Not recommending it, just asking if it has been for considered. August 31st. Yep.
I believe
Okay.
the contract says it the first.
well, it would have to be collectively bargained. It would have to be something that both sides would need to agree to.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay.
so you can't start before the 1st.
Okay. Do you guys? I think the consensus that I've heard is a willingness to start before Labor Day, a desire to finish around the 16th, and then we have to balance what days we're going to pull off from holidays or in-service days.
So basically, what we're looking at, if I could summarize quickly, is that we're looking for a 182-day calendar with 2 snow days built in, and we would need to take one of the professional development days and put it after the last day of work, which is basically what we're talking about. Starting before Labor Day, having a full week off in March.
Yeah, to be
Have
fair,
I
we
summarized
also
that
discussed the
correctly?
possibility of taking September 2nd and making that a student day and putting that in service day at the end of the school year. And Dr. Antunes voiced her concerns
Yeah,
about that. So
Right.
but we did discuss it,
Mhm.
if I recall correctly. And she said that, well, she's right there, what am I speaking for? But we all discussed that the staff needs 2 before the start of the school year.
Actually, it used to be 3, and there were 3 very full days. 2 was a compromise many years ago. So I really don't want to push that any further. I mean, people need to get together before school starts at a building level and at a district level to go over, you know, things. So 2 days, I would say, at a minimum.
Yeah, the administration wouldn't recommend that either.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mr.
I
Pulsifer?
just wanted to say, you know, in terms of the in-service days, I think it's important as much as possible that we actually have the in-service days before the school year is done, so that the in-service actually pays off for the kids. So I wouldn't want to move, I understand having one at the end, but certainly not moving multiple to the
No.
end.
We do have one, and we've been doing this for a few years now, that if teachers take courses that are offered after school, before school, even on the weekends through our turnkey trainer, that they could do a one-to-one swap for that. And we try to incentivize that. We want our teachers to do that. That's why a couple of the in-service trainings are in the spring and sometimes late in the spring, that we could look at the possibility of moving one of those to the day after graduation, which would continue to incentivize that type of work. But I agree with you, I wouldn't recommend two.
Okay. Does the Education Committee feel they've got enough guidance from the full board? Okay, great. Thank you, everybody.
All right, that's all I have.
That's all you have? Okay. Now continuing on in the agenda, we have approval of minutes. They're not specified, but I wrote them down. First one is the September 22nd executive minutes. These were the ones that were sent back at the last meeting. So I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the September 22nd executive session meeting minutes.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? No, it's the next one I had a question on. The issue was added. I was glad to see that. Okay. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? I'll abstain. Yep. Okay. Motion passes. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the October 13th public meeting minutes.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Okay. Chris Pulsifer. Okay, any discussion?
I sent two, and I think they've been made, Teresa said that they would be made, but just in terms of notifying everybody what they were. The Operations Committee meeting, Greg had discussed the HMS stage lighting. It was written as Hillsborough High School stage lighting, so I requested that.
You're right. It's HMS stage.
And then the other was a comment that I had made about HSA bylaws not allowing for them to raise funds and then donate to another charities. And it was written by law, the HSAs could not do that, but it's not by law, it's according to their bylaws. So those were the two changes.
The importance of the hyphen. Okay, and another correction is actually the time of adjournment. In the meeting minutes is listed as 9 p.m. It was actually 10:15. I think that's when we went over to executive session, was at 9 o'clock.
Gotcha.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion passes. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the October 13th executive session meeting minutes.
So moved.
I have a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion? It looks like that there were some items that were carried over from the public meeting, such as an arrival time for Dr. Swasan, and also the administrative members who were listed as present. There was only one person that was the superintendent.
Gotcha.
Okay, any other discussion? You got that?
Yep. I'm good with
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, now I'd like to open it up to comments from the public. This could be with regard to new business, non-action or working meeting agenda or action agenda items. So,
Excuse me, Mr. President? Are we
Yes.
skipping committee reports?
I am sorry, we are. My apologies to the committee chairs. If we can have committee reports, please. Mr. Pulsifer, I'll let you
Yes,
start.
yes, Mr. President, yes. The Human Resources Committee met on October 16th. Our first item of discussion was Dr. Schiff's recommendation for filling the open Director of Human Resources position, which we have actually taken action on tonight. We followed that with a discussion about filling some clerical positions and clearing up a clerical position. We then had a long discussion, which is still ongoing, about merit goals for senior administration. Sorry, as I turn the page here. We had a discussion about we're trying to set a calendar for the Human Resources Committee to meet with the Sick Bank Committee of the HEA. We had an update on grievances from the superintendent, and that was the end of our meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pulsifer. Any other committee chairs?
It's
Mrs.
not fair.
Haas.
His reports are always so short.
Well, I can't talk about anything.
Yeah, really, I know. Well, okay. I'm tempted to allow Jordan to talk about the second calendar item on the agenda for the Education Committee, but obviously we talked about the calendar. The second issue is with this year's calendar, and I will be brave enough to say that apparently we have been advised by Sun Arena that we cannot book this year's graduation there. So after a successful year of an indoor and air-conditioned graduation, we're now closed out. We're closed out of the RAC. We're, I think, looking into Princeton or Seton Hall, but I wouldn't hold my breath for that. And left with the solution of moving graduation this year back to the high school with approval from the Township Fire Marshal and limited tickets to families. Obviously not an ideal solution, but maybe the only one we get. Obviously, administration will continue to look for indoor venues, but I'd just like people to be aware that that seems to be the direction in which we're going now.
May I just comment on that just
Sure.
for a moment, just so that the public and the board is aware of the reasoning why? The Sun Arena did not allow us to pre-schedule our graduation for the 14-15 school year until after we went through it for 1 year. And that is their procedure. The day after we graduated, Karen Bingert, the principal, contacted the Sun Arena and asked for that particular day. And they said it was already closed out. That's why it's so important for us to approve a calendar at least a year and a half ahead of time, so that we can secure the dates. We have secured for the possibility of either graduating on the 16th or the 22nd of 2016, but we are having difficulties in securing an off-site location. As Mrs. Haas indicated, we have contacted Rutgers University to look at the athletic center, the RAC over there. They do not have availability during that particular day either. We'll continue to look for off-site, but we do have to consider seriously bringing it back on-site for 1 year until we can get into a routine of securing it at least a year and a half ahead of time.
Okay. In addition to that item, we went around the block again about electronic communication between staff and support staff members with students. We're going to continue to go around the block with that and get more input from the leadership team. We discussed a group of policies regarding health services that were mostly, excuse me, minor changes, like changing the word pupils to students, which you got to kind of admire how people actually get paid to do this, but that's what our policy service does for us. And also changing the numbers of the administrative code reflections on why these policies and regulations exist. So we went through all of those and basically are putting them on calendar for first reading tonight. We have a new policy about screening for dyslexia, and Dr. Antunes advised us how the district has already implemented the required staff development training. We have a policy on transgender students. We made some minor changes in the verbiage in this policy. And we had a, we had a discussion on option 2 which basically related to the possibility of students being released from physical education during the season that they are playing a sport. And apparently high school administration is not prepared to do that at this time due to staffing implications and scheduling logistics. And we will continue to discuss this. And we discussed visits to elementary school for Dental Awareness Month, which came up at an earlier school board meeting. And it was shared that the elementary principals had spent a considerable amount of time discussing this and decided not to have outside people coming into the schools this year. And they will revisit this again next year. We discussed the possibility of scheduling high school events so that they don't conflict with PSATs and SATs that are scheduled, well, either for the same day or the following morning. And we're going to talk about that further. We talked about attendance at sport practices as an issue, and we're going to continue that discussion next month. And we talked about student parking at the high school and extra credit in science, with further discussion to continue at our next meeting on November 13th. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Haas. Operations Committee?
That was before.
No, and the Governance Committee had met.
We did governance.
We don't have governance yet.
We don't have the minutes available, okay.
Because my computer's not working, so I don't have my notes.
Okay, we'll report that out next meeting. Okay, any questions with regard to the committee reports?
Oh, I had one. I can't remember now.
What?
I had a question. Oh, I have a question.
Mr. Gillette?
This, it's about Education Committee. It's funny, I was on that committee, and I have a question anyway.
Why don't you ask the committee the question?
I'll ask the committee. Chairwoman of the committee, Chairperson Haas. Are we finding out just tonight, is tonight the first time we're finding out that the Sun Arena denied our reservation request on June 20-something? Is that the first, is it tonight the first time we're hearing that date? Oh, regardless of yes or no, from June 25th, let's say, to October 25th, that's 4 months. This is sometimes a contentious issue, but it's certainly an issue of interest to our parents and students. A third of a year passed before any board member knew that we were not going to be able to repeat that again when administration knew 4 months ago. That's too long. There's some bright people here. Maybe one of us could have had an idea when it was closer. I don't know. Or else maybe we shouldn't even just, maybe board members should just be out of the mix on this altogether. If it's going to be 4 months, maybe 6 months. Maybe we shouldn't know until April. 9 months.
No, the board should have been informed earlier on. I did have an earlier conversation, and Tom and I were just discussing that, but it should have been brought to the board's attention earlier on. Absolutely. We have been working on trying to find a solution and seeing if there was something that could be done with the Sun Arena. Unfortunately, these arenas don't get back in touch with you very quickly. That being said, though, the board should have been more timely aware of the situation.
Thank you for the response.
Or just to elaborate on that, because, I mean, I know that the fire marshal has really, really stressed to us that the indoor scenario is unacceptable. So this is why I'm worried. On top of the fact that I'm a little angry that, yeah, we're just finding out about this in October.
You're correct. The reason that we were looking at going off-site initially was because of the concerns of the fire marshal for the inside graduations, and some board members who attended some of the indoor graduations, they were stifling. They were terrible. So in good faith, we tried to look for alternatives. If we need to hold it back on-site here, we would need to find a procedure and a process that was amenable to the fire marshal, make sure he's comfortable with it, certainly. Or we would need to look at other options of delaying it a day if it was raining or other issues that would necessitate us bringing it indoors, we would need to look at alternatives. And Ms. Bingert is looking at those now.
Mrs. Haas.
Yeah, one of the things we did talk about at the Education Committee meeting was the possibility of holding graduation the next day. Of course, that is an issue with project graduation because the students presumably would have a project graduation the night before graduation, which might not be perfect. But there are a lot of logistics involved, and I'd like to think that everybody was doing everything they could to salvage whatever it was and find another venue for this graduation. But this is going to continue to be an issue because we are not in control of these venues. And even though it was very nice in Trenton last year to have an air-conditioned venue where, you know, everybody could bring as many people as they wanted to bring, for all the years before that, we dealt with the high school. And there are many districts, actually, all over New Jersey that have rain contingency plans for the next day, and they deal with it. So obviously not ideal, not what we had hoped for, but something for the public to possibly consider when they're making their plans for this year's graduation, that we may have a one-day swing into, excuse me, into the next day. So that's it.
We do have a secured date for graduation at the Sun Arena if we wish to exercise that. But that's Friday, the day after graduation at 7 p.m. So that is problematic on a lot of different levels. So still working on it. We're going to need to land on a decision relatively soon so that people can do the advanced planning that they need to.
I was going to say, Dr. Schiff, are we going to let the graduating class know or their parents know that we're looking at alternatives now? So, because people have already started planning vacations, where they're going, what they're doing, so.
Sure. Well,
I think
that's
we
one
need
of
to
the.
at least get a letter to the parents, not necessarily
Right.
the whole district. But
Well, that's one of the reasons. What I think the parents need to know is what our decision is going to be. And if our decision is going to be the graduation date as listed in the calendar will remain, but we just won't be off-site, then we inform them that where the graduation will be located. And I anticipate that we'll be coming to the board with our final recommendation shortly. And we'll communicate that out.
Mrs. Haley.
Have we had any preliminary discussions with Mr. Winiger, the fire marshal?
No, our last conversations with the fire marshal were around trying to move it out. We did have some alternatives of looking at utilizing the commons area also, and that we would simulcast into the commons area and have less people within the gym area themselves. And that was really the issue, too many people in the gymnasium where it gets very hot, especially when they sit very high on the bleachers. So I anticipate we'll have a reasonable workaround for it, but we'll need to have final plans ready to go pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that the logical thing would be to sit down with Chris and try to figure this out relatively quickly, because honestly, I don't see us being able to secure an off-site location. I can't imagine that's going to happen at this late stage, in the game. And I think we really need to be very proactive and make sure that the fire marshal is comfortable with what our contingency plans are, so that we can let parents know what's going on, because it's a huge day.
Yep, that's the plan.
So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Is that it for committee reports?
Yeah, let's be done. Let's go.
Okay, continuing on with the agenda. Well, I love having the discussions in here from you guys. I appreciate the public more. So at this point, comments from the public with regard, again, this could be new business, our non-action working meeting agenda item, or our action agenda. And as those who come up, you can just state your name and address, please. Nope. Okay. Okay. Then it would be new business from the board. And I apologize for the way that the agenda was written. It got captured. And I wanted to have, before the action agenda, a non-action work meeting agenda, but I actually have another piece of new business, and this is with regard to Tuesday next week, which is November 4th, Election Day. In a previous action about 1.5 years ago, the Hillsborough Board of Education moved its election date from April to the general election in an effort to gain greater participation by the local electorate in choosing its representation of this governing body. On Tuesday, November 4th, Hillsborough will have its second November election for 3 of its Board of Education members. There are 6 candidates on the ballot, 3 incumbent members running for re-election, and 3 newcomers. The Board of Education greatly impacts each citizen and this community in terms of setting the strategic plan, budget, policies, and decisions that make the quality of schools for this community's children's education, the township's quality of life, property taxes, and market value. It is a responsibility that each member here is honored and dedicated to perform as your elected representatives. The Hillsborough Beacon has performed a service in last week's edition to provide you with each candidate's positions on numerous topics to better educate you on those candidates. Based on this information, incumbent members' performance and voting records, and your independent knowledge of the candidates, please perform your civic duty to elect those who you feel would best represent you and provide the leadership that will best serve this community and the Hillsborough Board of Education. So again, thank you, and be sure to vote on November 4th. The section of the Board of Education should be down at the bottom of the ballot. So I just wanted to plug that in for new business for all of us this coming on November 4th. The next item, and this is a working item, and we've had these different types of non-action agenda items where we wanted to have just established dialogue, consideration of various topics. And the topic that I want to pose for board discussion is consideration of merit-based bonus compensation for senior administrators. This is, I want this to be a discussion about merit-based compensation for senior administrators in terms of a management tool to yield more effective performance, understanding the way that the laws have been written, which would enable this. It would be in the form of a merit-based bonus, non-pensionable stipend. This is going to be a discussion about the tool, the management tool, and how we feel it can affect the quality of the educational system here. This is not to be a discussion about any specific employees or their performance. Again, this is as a management tool. So what I'd like to have considerations and establish a dialogue and discussion among the board's members. What do you see as the value for it? What do you see as the benefits, challenges, merits? And then there's some more specific items that we can talk about. So, Mrs. Haas.
At my last workshop on ethics, we were advised that if there's inappropriate discussion at board meetings and closed sessions, you should state that and ask that it be included in the minutes that I asked. I would like the minutes to reflect that I think this is an inappropriate discussion to be taking place at this meeting. I think it violates the Open Public Meetings Act, which specifically has exceptions for the confidentiality of personnel matters, contractual matters, and negotiations matter. And I think this compromises the Board of Ed. So therefore, I will not be participating in this discussion. And the best advice that we got at this ethics discussion was just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your input. Since we are not talking about any specific employees or contracts.
Yes, you are.
We are not.
Clear. You are.
This could be for any level of administrators, and that's what I'd like to have a discussion about. It's a philosophical management tool.
No, it's a negotiation discussion. All of this falls under negotiations.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Haas.
Every single personnel contract in this board, in this school district, is a negotiation matter. Do not think we should be discussing this.
Okay. Okay, you've stated that you want to exclude yourself from this discussion. Is there anybody who would like to have this discussion?
Well, now that you just scared us.
Well,
You know what?
many boards have attorneys present for just this
Well,
reason,
and
to stop inappropriate
Actually,
discussion at the board
Mrs. Haas,
dais.
I have consulted our attorney, and he said as long as this discussion is about the management tool, then it's within bounds. He said we cannot speak about specific.
He's not here to control it.
Well, I have $16.50. Let's call them up for 6 minutes and find out.
Aren't you cute?
Well, that's what, a 6-minute phone call.
This is
to the
violating
attorney
the
tonight.
rights of staff members, not to mention the
we
fact that
can
it was
get- we can
already
get the attorney
discussed
on
in
the phone
closed
tonight.
session twice, and whether you know it or not, you already agreed to this back in our August meeting in a voted action that this board took. So I don't know
Mrs.
why
Haas, I
we're
believe-
discussing it after the ship has sailed.
Mrs. Haas, I'm actually not discussing about anything that was in executive session, which you just seem to have breached what was discussed and commented on.
No, I'm talking about a subject that was in our notice of our previous executive session
But
meeting.
we don't vote on executive session, do we?
Correct.
Well, then how can we be breaching some, what did you just say? What did you just say? Something that we've already voted on in executive session? How can we vote on something that we,
No,
about
I
something
said
we voted on that we haven't
we
voted on?
voted on a similar matter here at this dais 2 months ago. So,
At this dais?
yep.
I'm,
I'm at a loss, I don't know.
what's that? That was the superintendent's contract, which we voted on. So the question, I would like to have a conversation about, is it something that the board feels is warranted for staff in general? What's
I don't know if we're allowed to talk or not anymore.
Again, as long as the conversation is about a management tool and merit-based compensation for senior administrators, again, as a management tool, not about any specific people, that is not talking about any contracts, that is not talking about any employees. Otherwise, we can have a conversation if and when the eventuality, if this is something that the board supports, when that comes up for action. I'd like to be able to have these deliberations about the management tool. It's something I feel is important for us to be transparent about.
I'm not sure exactly where we are in terms of what's discussable or not, but the thing that concerns me and what I see as listed in the agenda and the words you just used, I think pushes us too close to what Judy's objection is. When you say specifically senior administrators, that's no longer a general discussion. While we don't know exactly who, we aren't naming names by saying senior administrators, that's a very small group of people, and I'm concerned that we may be too close to the edge of what Judy has raised by saying senior administrators.
I mean, that could be anything from the supervisor, director, managerial level on.
I don't think, as a matter of precedent, we have not used the term to mean that. So I don't think, I would have to go with what we've used that term to mean in the past, and therefore using that same term again, I would be concerned that we are certainly, I'm not sure I agree we've gone as far as Judy would put us at, but I certainly think we're at least brushing up against it by using a terminology that we have used before.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, seeing no discussion, we'll continue on.
Discussion? I'm ready to talk about it, but I'm not going to be the only one.
I'm ready to talk, but I'll refrain from.
Why don't we call the attorney? That was a real, do we have input from the attorney? Not in writing or anything, right?
Yes, I consulted with our attorney as board president. I am able to do that. And so I wanted to make sure that this was an appropriate manner to discuss, and he confirmed that subject is, but if board members are uncomfortable, so be it. Okay. Seeing no discussion, let's continue on.
So if, just for instance, I'm sorry for cutting in your time. For instance, if I made a general statement on this topic in executive session, can I repeat the general statement in open session, or am I revealing something that was said in executive session? I'm all confused now. Would that get me both ways? Would I be doubly done for revealing something that happened in executive session if I've already made a general statement about this in executive session? I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is.
Okay. Continuing on with the action agenda. Dr. Schiff.
Thank you, Mr. Kentz. I ask for the board's consideration of the following motions under the area of education to approve travel and related expenses, overnight trips, field trip destination as listed, to approve a nurse to be available for a special needs student with diabetes, to approve policies and regulations as listed, approve the submission of the 2014-2015 NJQSAC Statement of Assurance, to approve out-of-district placement, to approve a secretary to enter data for sports physicals, to approve the abolishment of policy 1522.
I'd like to entertain a motion to approve items A1 through A9 of the action agenda.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Gillette.
I would like to separate A5, number 11.
Number 11, okay. I have a question with regard, actually, since this is first reading for these policies, on policy 5305, which is health services personnel. In there, it talks about the certified school nurse shall possess a current New Jersey registered professional nurse license issued by the state of New Jersey. And what was added was a bachelor's degree from a regionally accredited college or university. My understanding is that registered nurses don't have to have a bachelor's degree, and I'm concerned about, since this is an addition, we could be,
You don't have to.
what's that?
You don't have to.
You do not have to have one. So we could be putting ourselves at a disservice by excluding nurses who may have many years of experience without a bachelor's degree, but have the appropriate certifications and licenses. So I would like that to
It can be preferred.
It could be preferred, but here it's saying it shall possess.
No.
So,
It's not
It may be prescribed by code for this particular policy. We'd have to research that and see that it's not, that it's allowable for a board to change that.
okay.
Unless it's required, unless the only way you can get your educational certificate is to have a bachelor's anyway.
Well, that's correct. You
So
cannot
if that's the case,
hold a
that's how that
certification.
has to be a bachelor's. So it's not the registered nurse
You can't be a health
position
educator.
per
You
se, it
can't be a
might be that
school
you have to
nurse.
have your
Right.
standard educational certificate.
What's that?
Yeah, let me just be clear. In order to be a school nurse or a school nurse health educator, you must have at least an undergraduate degree.
Okay.
There are at times situations where we do have a nurse to assist on a one-to-one situation with a child who's medically fragile. For those particular children, they do not need a bachelor's
Yeah,
degree.
and that's called for in there. Okay. So thank you for that clarification. I just wanted to make sure, because again, if it's the nursing degree part and that aspect.
Right, it's more the educational certificate
You
that's
wouldn't get the
important to that
certification.
paragraph.
Okay. Appreciate that clarification. Any other questions with regard to items A1 through A9? Okay. So this is a motion. The motion is to approve items A1 through A9, excluding A5, 11.
Yeah, 11.
Roll call, please, Mr. Mahmood.
Sure. Ms. Bogoshevsky?
Yes.
Ms. Santafonte?
Yes.
Mr. Dutta? Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Mrs. Haas?
Yes.
Mrs. Haley?
Yes.
Mr. Pulsifer?
Yes.
Ms. Wasson?
Yes.
Mr. Kent?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve item A5, 11.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, roll call, please, Mr.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what we're voting on.
This is A5, 11, to approve for first reading. Roll call, please, Mr. Mahmood.
Ms. Bogoshevsky?
Yes.
Mrs. Santafonte?
Yes.
Mr. Gillette?
No.
Mrs. Haas?
Yes.
Mrs. Haley?
Yes.
Mr. Pulsifer?
Yes.
Ms. Wasson?
Yes.
Mr. Kent?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion passes. Continuing on with the action agenda.
Thank you. I ask for the board's consideration of the following motions that I'm recommending under the area of human resources: to approve resignations, leaves of absences, revised long-term substitutes, transfer change in assignments, group change, reappointments, approve the appointments, and we already moved on 7.1, approve the appointments of long-term substitutes, coaches, co-curricular advisors, substitutes, mentors, approve extra period coverage, and approve the resolutions as listed to abolish a position and to create an instructional assistant position.
I'd like to approve I'd like to entertain a motion to approve items B1 through B10, excluding item B7.1.
So moved?
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay. Roll call, please, Mr. Mahmood.
Surely. Ms. Bogoshevsky?
Yes.
Ms. Santafonte?
Yes.
Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Mrs. Haas?
Yes.
Mrs. Haley?
Yes.
Mr. Pulsifer?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Kent?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Continue now, please.
Thank you. I ask for the board's consideration of the following motions under the area of operations: to approve the monthly bills list, line item transfers, the donation from the Hillsborough Rotary Club for 555 dictionaries for our third graders. I'd like to express our appreciation to Hillsborough Rotary for their donation of dictionaries for our third graders.
Here, here. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve items C1 through C3.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Just want to confirm on item C1 that that's been reviewed.
Yes, Mr. Gillette.
Mr. Gillette? You reviewed the bills?
Oh, yes, I'm
Thank
sorry.
you.
I was watching Judy going like this, and I couldn't read your lips.
My question was whether or not the bills were
Yeah,
done.
I reviewed the bills today.
Good, thank you.
Yeah.
I'd also like to know if everybody on the board reviewed the transfers,
Yes?
and we understand where all the money's coming from for those transfers.
Yeah.
Very good.
Okay. Roll call, please, Mr. Any other discussion? Roll call, please, Mr. Mahmood.
Sure. Ms. Bogoshevsky?
Yes.
Ms. Santafonte?
Yes.
Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Mrs. Haas?
Yes.
Mrs. Haley?
Yes.
Mr. Pulsifer?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Kent?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion passes. Okay. I'd like to open up the floor again to comments from the public. Seeing none. Any comments from the board with regard to old business? Okay.
That's their chance if they want to talk.
What's that?
That was the last chance for the public? Was that
Yes.
the last opportunity? Oh,
Yeah, it was the second
okay.
opportunity.
Anybody want to speak?
Okay. I'd like to entertain them.
They're just here for the entertainment.
Are we going back to
What?
They're
executive
just here for
session?
the entertainment.
Oh, yes, we do need to do that.
Watch it on TV.
I don't want to, but
Okay.
Live.
I'm going to entertain a motion to go to executive session. Whereas the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231 of the laws of 1975 provides that a public body may exclude the public from that portion of a meeting of which the public body discusses certain matters for which confidentiality is required as permitted in Section 7B of the Act. Resolved by the Board of Education of the Township of Hillsborough and the County of Somerset and State of New Jersey as follows. The matters to be discussed are goals for the Superintendent of Schools, Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, and School Business Administrator. The matters discussed in executive session shall be disclosed to the public for the need, when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. There will be no action taken after this meeting, and, well, this is probably about an hour, probably about 10 o'clock.
how long?
I don't know. I'd rather err and be early than.
I'll give you 10 minutes.
We're not getting 10 minutes. We got another
We're
hour
not gonna-
there.
Why? It's just not.
Why? We're not? Okay.
That's
All
our,
right.
we'll love to get out sooner, but
I'll make, did you get a motion yet?
No.
No.
So
No, I don't
moved.
move, I don't move for an hour. I'm not, no one second that.
We're not, it's not that we can't.
That's guidance.
We're
That's not part of the
estimating.
motion.
I know.
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
I heard you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?